For more on the situation in the US, I would like to welcome Richard Johnson to the programme. He's a lecturer in US politics and international relations at Lancaster University. Thank you so much for being with us, Professor. Let's start off with Donald Trump's handling of the crisis. Initially, very much shrugging it off, later saying that he hopes the US will somehow shake off the disease by Easter.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a public health expert, but from public health experts, that just seems completely non-viable. I think what we need to understand about Trump's response to this is that Trump is, from a political standpoint, thinking about his re-election. His re-election has always been premised on a strong US economy. And of course, coronavirus threatens to destabilize that. And so I think if we are to understand the package that Donald Trump is supporting now, which is historically unprecedented in the extent to which it reaches all aspects of the US economy, that at least from a kind of pure political standpoint, Trump's thinking about getting the US economy back on track. Easter doesn't seem likely, but that's what this legislation is designed to do.
It's interesting that you mentioned that because, of course, during this crisis, despite the fact that the WHO has said that the US could become a pandemic, a global epicenter for this pandemic, his popularity rating is actually very much increased.
Yeah, I mean, he's what's very interesting about the politics of this at the moment is the bipartisan nature of support for this package. If we think back to the Obama stimulus back in 2009, not a single Republican in the House of Representatives and only 3 Republicans in the Senate voted for Obama's stimulus, whereas today, early this morning, every single Republican and every single Democrat present voted for this legislation. And that could be because of the nature of this particular crisis. But in a way, Donald Trump is, because he's the man in charge at the top, he's the president, he in some ways will be a beneficiary of that bipartisan goodwill, which just wasn't there when Obama was president.
Now, the stimulus package aside, Republicans and Democrats do have rather different ideas about the coronavirus, don't they?
Well, they do, and I think what's been at stake in this particular package has been about attempts to include certain protections for certain types of workers in the bill. That's something that Democrats have tried to include. When you pass something this enormous in Washington, everyone is going to want to try to get their particular cause included. And we've seen some things like the Kennedy Center getting $25 million in this package. What the Democrats have achieved is getting Republicans to support various welfare programs and investment that they would not have dreamed of doing only a month or 2 ago. So the Democrats, I think, can look at this package and be probably pretty happy with it. There are some concerns about corporate bailouts and so on. But actually, I think this bipartisan package is in some ways probably a bigger win, politically speaking, for the Democrats.
Very briefly, if you can, Richard Johnson, as I mentioned earlier, the latest unemployment figure in the country is actually the highest ever reported. Is this stimulus package enough?
Well, time will tell. It's 3.3 million people last week claimed for unemployment insurance. That is historically unprecedented. This package, 2.2 trillion, is enormous. It's double the defense budget, which is huge in the US. So this is really serious. So time will tell if this is big enough, but we've not seen anything this big ever before in American history.
Richard Johnson there, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us here on France 24.
Thank you.
Now, staying